Anthony Yarde versus Ralfs Vilcans. Let's talk about it. Okay, so as I said before the fight, I weren't given a particular prediction because I didn't know anything about Ralfs Vilcans, but I was expecting Anthony Yarde to beat this guy. Not saying that he looked like he was an easy character to beat. I hadn't seen him fight. I was just purely going by his record. And on his record, I didn't see anyone that I knew, whether he beat them or not. So I was expecting it to be a routine fight for Anthony Yarde to get some ring rust off. But even though you say ring rust, it's not like Anthony Yarde constantly fights regularly. Before this, he was out for 8 months, and before that he was out for 5 months, and then before that he did have a TKO loss to Artur Beterbiev, so I did expect a layoff of about 8 to 9 months or even a year, so he was off for 8 months again at that point. Before that he was off for 3 months before he fought Artur Beterbiev. Before that though, he hadn't fought in a year, and before that he hadn't fought in about 4 or 5 months. So it's not like he's constantly, regularly fighting and such like. He does have layoffs because before that he fought Lyndon Arthur, which was a split decision loss, and he didn't come straight back in. He waited about 8 months again before he fought. So he does have these layoffs, which I don't think is good for his career, considering the fact that he is not a seasoned amateur who had a good long career in the amateurs and now is a pro. He had a very short career in the amateur. He's one of these guys that started late. 18, 19 years old, starting boxing. So anyway, going into this fight, I was expecting him to win, but I didn't know how. And ding round one, he comes out, they both come out, and within 10 seconds, Ralfs Vilcans is on the floor. Within 10 seconds, he'd been sat down. So I'm thinking, okay, it's an early night. Anthony Yarde's just going to finish off this guy in the first round. And in hindsight, I believe that would have been the best thing to do. Just jump on him, wing your shots in and let the ref just call it off. But on the night, I was thinking, no, don't do it. Don't knock him out. Just carry him for a bit, which he ended up doing. After the knockdown, it was a flash knockdown is what we call it, a flash knockdown. Anthony Yarde came with an overhand right, and Ralfs was actually backing off a little bit, got caught on the chin flush, and had an 8 count. Got up and was a bit wobbly and proceeded to get his legs back underneath him and battle through. So he survives first round. Into the second round, he's still trying to gather his composure, and Anthony Yarde ultimately wins the second round. But the third and the fourth round, I give to Ralfs Vilcans because he got himself back in the fight, got his legs back underneath him, and he's now throwing a lot of punches and catching Anthony Yarde with the shots. And Anthony Yarde's output isn't that much because it looks like he's just trying to set up this one-hitter quitter because he got, obviously, confidence from the fact that he could knock him down so easily. He didn't take into account that the man might have recovered and now he's here for a fight, which he was. The fifth round was quite entertaining, and I do edge that round to Anthony Yarde, even though Ralfs had a lot of output, as well as the sixth round, I edged to Anthony Yarde as well. But when we get to the 7th, 8th, and 9th round, all those 3 rounds I give to Ralfs Vilcans. Round 10, I do give it to Anthony Yarde. So with that being said, I gave Anthony Yarde 5 rounds. And I also gave Ralfs Vilcans 5 rounds. So I gave Anthony Yarde 5 rounds. And I gave Ralfs Vilcans 5 rounds. But when you put the knockdown on top of it, that means Anthony Yarde wins by 1 point. So in that case, Anthony Yarde won. But it was laboured and he was tested way much more than I think he should have been tested. He took a lot more shots than I think he should be taking. He's taking shots flush to the face. He's got this shoulder roll style, which I don't think's working for him. I've never seen it work for him, but he continues to do it. So he practices this. So I'm not sure what his corner's telling him, but he practices this shoulder roll, which he has not perfected, and I don't think he will perfect. There were times when he was keeping his arms low, trying to bait the guy forward, and that's because obviously he didn't respect the guy's power per se, because even though the guy was catching him flush every time, he didn't actually cut Anthony Yarde. He did bruise up his face a bit, but he didn't actually cut him. But Anthony Yarde did cause a cut on the guy's eye, and with his sheer pressure of coming forward and winging these shots in, he ended up winning the fight. And the referee was the judge, and he gave it to Anthony Yarde 98-92, like the guy only won 2 rounds, which I don't agree with, but that's neither here nor there. Anthony Yarde won the fight. They didn't even have judges, because I believe they just thought Anthony Yarde's going to knock this guy out. We don't need judges. So they didn't have any judges for the co-main event. It was the co-main event of the evening and there were no judges. The referee's the judge. That's ridiculous. They obviously thought Anthony Yarde was going to knock this guy out way before the 10th round. And to be fair to you, if Anthony Yarde had jumped on him and winged shots in that first round, the referee would have just stepped in and called it all off. But Anthony Yarde decided to try and go on like he's boxing. And for me, he hasn't improved with his boxing at all. He hasn't improved. I don't know what he's being taught over there, but he's not improving in my opinion. He's the same old shoulder roll attempt, getting caught with his arms down, getting caught with his hands down, no guard. And when he even has got his guard, the guy's punching through his guards. If this guy had a little bit of power to him, who knows? May have knocked out Anthony Yarde. Who knows? Because he was catching Anthony Yarde flush with combinations. 2, 3, 4 shots at a time, landing straight on Anthony Yarde's face from round to round. It was ridiculous in my opinion. I weren't very impressed with Anthony Yarde, but he got the win. And they're saying ring rust. Okay, let's just let them have that. Okay, ring rust, fine. Now, you need to have another fight. ASAP. Don't think about fighting no Joshua Buatsi right now, because I don't think that will bode well for you right now. Have another bring-along fight with a contender. And then maybe fight that Joshua Buatsi fight. But if they make the Joshua Buatsi fight next, I'll definitely be watching. Joshua Buatsi was ringside and he was definitely not impressed by what he saw. This might give him the impetus to say, make that fight now. Let me fight Anthiony now because I'm going to beat this guy up. He's rubbish. That's what Joshua Buatsi is probably thinking over there. But as things goes, Anthony Yarde is victorious. 98-92 by the ref. The referee scorecard. Ridiculous. Come like this is the first fight on a York Hall event. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Anyway, that's all she wrote. Anthony Yarde is victorious. Will Frank Warren now just say, do you know what? Boxer, you can have him. Have him. Because to be fair to you, that guy ain't part of my plans anymore. He's not good enough. He ain't coming to Riyadh to come and fight any big time boxer over there because he's going to get himself hurt. His contract dispute is still going on. That ain't sorted out. Is he going to sign for Boxer? Is he going to have these 2 fights what Queensberry and Frank says he's supposed to have for them? I don't know. We don't know. Only time will tell right now. But as for now, Anthony Yarde wins by a big decision from the referee and it's on to the next. I wonder if Ralfs Vilcans has now made a name for himself, where promoters are looking at him and thinking, you know what? Let's bring in this Ralfs guy and see what we can do with him in this light heavyweight division because we need boxers. So we'll see what happens with that with Ralfs Vilcans going forward. And I'll see you in the next video.